You are now listening to the NYYST
Podcast.
Welcome back. This is episode 215 of the NYYST podcast. I am your host, Christian. As always, joined by my co-host, Chris.
You.
And it's SGR.
What up? I like that.
What up? What up, fellas?
What up?
Not much.
Ryan,
bro.
what are you on the drunk meter right now?
Coming
Ryan
down.
he has a drunk meter
I'm
and
hungover
a
drunk.
hungover meter.
Yeah.
Ryan banged out at a wedding
Hangover,
last
yeah.
night. That's why we're recording. It's about 7:45
Yeah.
8
Mutual
on,
friends.
on Sunday
wedding.
night. Yeah, such a mutual friend that wasn't even invited.
True.
Yeah,
True,
neither
true,
was
true.
I.
Well,
Like,
it was more of it.
True.
It was a smaller
True.
gathering due to the coronavirus. We did a
being
small little
responsible
get
while being
together, yeah,
irresponsible.
and it was my best
be-
friend's Jeff's wedding. Congrats, Jeff and Kat, on getting married. And I found out we have a bunch of NYYST fans over on his wife's side of the family. So
Really?
yeah, a bunch, dude.
Wow.
The new
really
wife
awesome.
of a Pirani is
Yeah.
she's
Other
I'll say
big
this.
Yankee
If
blood runs
she's
deep.
listening or her family,
That's not true. They're
uh,
Orioles fans.
Jeff
but
is
they
not
like the
worthy of your
podcast.
daughter's love. But at the end of the day, and it's mainly just because he's a Mets fan, but at the end of the day, congrats. And I should have been invited. I'm a little bitter about it, but we'll let it go. We'll let it go. Being responsible while being
They
irresponsible.
all listen though. They really do
So-
listen. And Jeff's side too. They're all on board right there, Christian.
Yeah, Jeff's brother wants to be on the show.
Yeah, we're gonna
He
have him on.
does.
I called Jeff to congratulate him in the morning, and
Jeff,
in
the whole
background,
family over.
In the
Oh.
background, I hear, and this is how the Paranis talk. It's just there's just no way around it. Tell him, tell him I need to be on the show. And he's going, I'll tell him you want to be on the show.
He doesn't even listen to the show.
Yeah, he
I
just
proved
Right.
it.
So he
I
wants
proved
to,
it in a conversation I had with him earlier
Yeah.
in the week.
So he's using us.
Said you want to be on the show so badly you don't even listen to it.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Fuck no.
listened to it. You did a man crush list and DJ LeMayu was on it. I was like, wrong, he
Wrong.
wasn't. And that was like 3 months ago. So
Wrong.
when's the last time you listened to the show, bro?
Yeah.
But while we're talking about family members, I mean to bring this up here. When somebody hands you $20, what do you do with it?
Is it for me? Like you got to give me a little more context with that.
You
Someone
do me a
hand-
favor. You're
Okay.
doing me a favor. I hand
Okay.
you $20. What do you do with it?
I hand it back to you if I'm doing you a favor.
Why?
I don't want your money. I'm doing it because you're family to me. You're a friend.
Right.
You're a real scumbag because you're really gonna fuck up my point here.
Okay.
But if you insist on me taking it, and keep refusing me to give it back to you, I might just be like, all right.
Look, I got a baby. I don't want to put her in daycare.
okay.
My niece is responsible. So she comes over, she watches the baby. Usually I'm not home because I'm out, earning a living. But, a couple weeks ago I was home and she was over watching the baby. So I said, here's $20. I said, I know it's not a lot, but you shouldn't do this for free. And she basically ran away from me.
It's a good person.
No, it's fucked up.
No,
Your uncle hands you $20. You don't run away. You take that money.
I would probably, you know what? I'd probably take it from you if I had to watch your fucking kid. Like that's what I'm saying. You got to give me context. Like if I had to watch your fucking kid, I'm definitely taking your money because
Context.
Right.
that's something I don't want to do. Right?
Well, I
wanna put-
would never put you in charge of the well-being of my child.
I wouldn't
Yeah, that
blame you.
wouldn't happen.
My wife.
I've
is
met
very
all
cautious
three-
when she does it. Also,
I've met all three of your children. I can tell that you've been alone with them.
yes, several times.
So I just want she also said, "Oh, Uncle Christian doesn't shout me out anymore." And I'm like, "When's the last time you listened to the show?" And she's like,
When's the last time you left us a
2019.
5-star rating and review? I mean,
She's like 2019. I was like, "Well, how do you know then?" How do you
When-
know then?
When's the last time you left us a 5-star rating review on iTunes?
Have you left us a 5-star rating and review?
or subscribe to our YouTube channel?
Right.
You know,
Tell all your
Yeah.
college friends.
Big time.
I'll tell
Big
you what.
time.
One thing we don't ask our listeners for enough is
Is money?
just call up one friend. Just call up one friend who's a Yankee fan, and tell them to listen to us. I mean,
You
that's
ever watch that? You ever watch that show? The game show in the cab. The
Cash
hell's that
Cab?
called? Cash
Cash
Cab.
Cab?
Cash Cab.
Yeah, I
Yeah, and
fucking
they're
love
like,
that show.
and they're like phone a street, and you gotta be like, "Hey, yo, help me with this."
Yes,
You don't even gotta call somebody you know. Just
the person
blast
never
their
even knows. Yeah, just blast it.
blast the pod at a light, roll down the window, and be like, "Hey, yo, you listen to the
Window.
show? This shit's great."
Yeah, and like you want to know what the highest compliment we get paid, but it's also the most the most frustrating thing to think about is that we have
These
so
guys are
many people.
misogynists.
Yeah, we have so many people each week that say,
Really gonna prove that point in about 5 minutes.
"Oh yeah, can't wait." We have so many people that say to us, these guys should be bigger." Like we look at comments on YouTube and on Twitter, these guys should be way bigger than they are. And like, yeah, we agree with you. I mean, we got to step shit up in certain areas, but if that's how you feel, all it takes is telling one friend. Boom.
Yeah, and also we finally released some new merch. We've been promising it forever. But finally on Wednesday, the day that Yankees pitchers and catchers reported, the first two shirts of the Sterling Silhouette series were released. If you use code NYYSTPOD30, you will not only get 30% off your order, but you will get free shipping. If the computer goes out, the dog is underneath my desk right now. Don't ask
Great.
me why.
Dog's probably drugged out.
Yeah, he just had it. I just gave it to him. So the first two shirts dropped are Hideki Matsui and Aaron Judge. I'm not saying the Matsui shirt came out bad, but the Judge shirt came out phenomenally.
Yeah, it did come out really
Phenomenal.
good. It
So
did come
please
out
Yeah,
go
it's
really
to-
good.
really nice.
Please go to NYYSportsTalk.com and go to the shop tab and check those out. Again, NYYST Pod 30 will save you 30% in free shipping. There's still 3 more shirts to drop. Hopefully, when we get off the call here, we'll discuss it. My idea is next week, maybe next weekend for the first spring training game and then
Yeah.
opening day.
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay.
Okay, let's get to the guts.
So now we'll get to the fun part of the show. Do a quick little rundown here. Obviously, we're going to get the Domingo German stuff out of the way. Biggest story, I guess, of the week. It's something we need to touch on, and it's what we're going to touch on first here. Then we're going to get into the return of a Yankee. He's back. We won't, if you haven't heard, no spoiler, but he's
And I
back.
have some exclusive info to drop on that certain Yankee. So if you're messing around right now and you don't know if you're going to come back and be able to listen to the rest of this pod, you maybe have to go into work. Definitely make time to come back because it'll be worth your while.
Then it's the Triple G show. Then we're going to get into Gary Sanchez a little bit. There's a couple guys in camp that can make things a little interesting for Gary. We'll touch on that. Then there's a story about Jameson Tyon's pants that I think we need to touch on. We'll give the Yankees off season a letter grade, and then Chris will say goodbye. So that's the rundown of the show here. Also, before we actually get started, we want to wish our boy Ben Heller the best of luck out in Arizona.
Yes.
Ben was designated for assignment by the Yankees when they made the chat all day. Jesus
Darren.
Christ. I'm thinking of Chad Bradford because they're both side-arming righties.
Yeah.
The Darren O'Day signing official. He was picked up by the Arizona Diamondbacks. I heard that it came down between the Diamondbacks and the Red Sox. So look, even though I will never like the Diamondbacks because of 0-1. I guess it's better that Heller's in Arizona than he is in Boston. So at least we can kind of root for him. But Ben was a great guy, good friend of the show. We got to talk to Ben a few times. We interviewed him on the show. We did 10 questions in quarantine with Ben. We were able to get an exclusive quote from Heller when he got ejected for that bullshit with the Rays. last year. So I was,
I mean, just
you know,
our luck. The
personal.
closest Yankee that we have is gone.
You know, when you do something like this, you know, you do have personal biases and from experiences with people. And, you know, we had hoped that things were going to work out with Ben because we like Ben, but also we saw the talent was there. And just due to unfortunate injuries and now the numbers game, Ben's no longer with the Yankees, but hopefully he can still have a very productive and healthy major league career. So we do wish the best of luck to Ben Heller out in Arizona.
Hello.
Hello.
Now, uh, I don't know how you want to handle this. This is just something that we just have to dive into. Are you alive?
I'm
Blink.
alive. I'm ready.
You motherfuckers don't understand when you stand there like fucking mannequins for 30 seconds. I think the computer froze.
I'm here, baby.
So anyway, we have said on this show numerous times, we're going to talk about Domingo German. We got to talk about Domingo German as a baseball player. He did what he did. We don't condone it. No way, shape, or form do we condone it. But he was going to be on the team. We got to talk about him as a New York Yankee, as a pitcher. Things have kind of changed in the last few days with pitchers and catchers reporting to camp. And how it changed really is when Zach Britton stepped up to the mic the other day. And we've kind of, all three of us, been all over the place in the last few days. So unfortunately, we didn't get the opportunity, and this kind of lays on me. And I knew Chris was busy too, so we might not even have the opportunity to do it. We didn't get to cut the audio, but I think by now everybody's heard the clip, or at least know the quote where when asked about German, and I might be paraphrasing a little bit, Zach Britton said, "You don't always get to choose who your teammates are." Basically said he doesn't owe me an apology. But he said that, you know, he
Had the quote up here if you want me to read it.
Yeah, that would be great, SGR. That would be really
I don't think this is Zach Britton. I don't think he owes anything to me. I think it's off the field stuff that he needs to take care of. Sometimes you don't get to control who your teammates are, and that's the situation. I don't agree with what he did. I don't think it has any place in the game or off the field at all. And then a little bit further, he says, my job is to go out there and pitch and do my job. So that's kind of my concern right there. But German doesn't owe me anything. I think that's something that he's going to have to deal with on his own and make better choices going forward.
Now, here's the real interesting thing. Yankees have 60, 70 guys in camp, right? Somewhere around there. Any number of guys could have been asked this question. Zach Britton's the team's union player rep.
Mm-hmm. So he's got to get. He's got to have his finger on the pulse when it comes to how the team's feeling about something. Would you say that's pretty accurate?
I think that's why his words carry a little bit more weight than had, say, NYYST made a comment about Domingo German on the team.
Yeah, and
I think because it's just I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you can go.
And I'm saying because a suspension was involved, I'm almost positive that Zach Britton had to be involved in that in some way, shape, or form as a team's player rep for the union.
Yeah.
So he might even have, and Lindsay Adler, the Athletic, wrote a story today, which I'll bring up the information in about a minute, that maybe Britton knew more than the public did because of the suspension in the hearing and what was involved in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's just start with the basic stuff, which is the content and context of what Britton's saying about German. You can't disagree with anything he said. I mean, it's exactly how he should feel, how any decent human being would feel towards the situation. And before I go into how I feel about him saying it to the media that way, I'll just say this. If he has his finger on the pulse and he's representing the voice of all the players, I don't know if the Yankees made the right choice of not releasing Domingo German. Because to me, as much as I agree with what Britton said, if your job entails now to have this guy as a teammate, someone you need to lift up, whether you want to lift him up or not, whether you agree with who he is as a human being or not, And that's how you not only you feel, but we have to assume at least most of the guys in that clubhouse feel. It sounds like he's not someone they want to be around. It sounds like he's not like when you have to sit there and say you don't get to choose your teammates. To me, that's just like he almost sounds resentful towards the Yankee organization for keeping this guy on the team. And again, I'm not blaming him, and I'm not blaming anyone on that team. Domingo German, for all I care as a human being, can go friggin' get lost in a ditch. But that's not the case. We have to look at what the case is here. And the case is that he's still a teammate. He's still a guy you need to be successful if you want to obtain your ultimate goal here in winning a World Series. And I don't know. I just kind of like, it gave me a weird feeling. Like, if that's how the players are feeling, why is this guy still here? You know, you're not going to, if you keep him as a guy on your roster and you're depending on him, then you need him. You need him to be what you're depending on him to be. But at the same time, if you're depending on a guy who no one else wants around them, he's only going to hurt the team no matter how well he performs.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's kind of where I am on it.
Like I said, I think because Zach Britton was the guy that stepped up and said this, I think as the team's player rep, his words carry a lot of weight, and he's not just saying something to say something. I think he said that because he at least has the majority of the clubhouse behind him and what he's saying.
Yeah, and just real quick, I just meant to finish up with this point. I'm not knocking Britton in any way. Like, if that's what needed to be said, then he said it. Maybe he said it with the hopes that Cashman and the organization kind of get a hint and read between the lines that they don't want this guy. Maybe it needed to be said. But for me, again, if this is a guy that's your teammate, really your family when you're teammates during the season at least. And so if this guy's going to be here, for you to say something like that, now you're just, again, it's German's fault. He's the one who created this culture, and he needs to make it right. And maybe he's still taking that time, and I know we got to go into that too, of what his statements are going to be. But if that's how Zach Britton feels while this team's already reported to spring training, it wasn't done soon enough, in my opinion. And for now Britton to say that, it kind of just exposes the negative environment that German's bringing, and it better be salvaged pretty quickly.
Right. I just don't know what the Yankees are going to do at this point. I mean, realistically, they should just release him right now. We're a week or 5 days or whatever it is into spring training, and it's already become too much of a distraction and a headache that Aaron Boone has had to talk to him. And he was actually German was actually supposed to speak to the team today, and he didn't. And let me see if I have the statement released through Yankee PR. It is important. This is a statement from German through Yankees PR. It is important to me that I have the opportunity to speak directly with my teammates, both individually and collectively, and address them face to face before I speak to the media and our fans. This process has begun, but more time is needed, especially since half our team has yet to report to spring training. I recognize that speaking publicly will be an important step for me, and I will do so in the upcoming days. That was from German earlier today.
Yeah, I mean, again,
somebody definitely wrote that for him.
I always go back to risk reward with anyone in any context. And for me, like, if this is the trouble or the distraction that Domingo German's causing already, he's not worth it. Like, I'm not saying he can't, or that he wouldn't be a big piece to this puzzle if he comes back effective. I'm not saying that they don't necessarily wouldn't benefit from German being great, but do they need him to win a World Series? No.
Is this player worth 3 years now? We're going on 3 years of this being a story, right? Pretty much
3 seasons. Yeah, 3 seasons.
3 seasons worth of a story. It isn't worth it. Just for that alone, it's too much of a distraction. There's too much that as fans we should be celebrating, and guys coming back that are re-signed, that are coming back, and winning a World Series. It sucks that this is still a story, and it
Yeah,
just
it
keeps
shouldn't
getting
be.
worse, and it keeps getting worse and worse. And it's like how, and now
Is it
now the
worth it?
player rep, is speaking out against it.
Yep.
And that's your player rep, because you have to assume that if he wasn't speaking as the representative of the New York Yankees, because that's what a player rep, he represents the players of the team, then you have to assume that he was speaking on behalf of the players on the Yankees. And if it was Zach Britton talking on his own, he most likely, and that's an assumption on my end, I would assume that he would have stated that ahead of time. Look, I know I'm the player rep, but speaking as an individual here, there,
I think,
and say your statement. But he didn't say that.
yeah, I
He was
think we
speaking
can
on behalf of
all.
the Yankees
I think we can all say that Zach Britton seems like
Players.
a fairly responsible guy, and he knows the kind of weight that his words hold when he answers questions such as Domingo German, another player, not necessarily of things of himself. I think he's responsible enough to know that the direct assumption is going to be that he's speaking on behalf of the team. So I don't think Britain just makes that statement without discussing it with the team.
The only thing more disgusting than what Domingo German did is some of the people that have replied to some of my Domingo German tweets today. You can't, like blaming the media for making this a big deal. Domingo German beat a woman, scared her so badly she locked herself in a fucking closet. That's the media's fault.
Yeah, no.
Somebody
You gotta
said
take
that
responsibility for your
and then
actions,
somebody
man.
else told me today that the Yankees, the Yankee team themselves are acting like high school children. This is some bullshit high school drama because Domingo German smacked the shit out of a woman.
Yeah, no, in no way is it okay.
Or what I was just answering to right now is that if we as Americans interfere, the Dominican Republic will hate us because we are interfering with their cultural norms.
There's a lot of sorry to break it to everybody. There's a lot of cultural norms across the world that any moral human being wouldn't agree with, and that's part of the reason why there's wars and why we try and bring peace and whatever. There's a lot of shit, and this is definitely one of them.
So even if it's okay, and I know we have people from the Dominican Republic that listen to the show, and I'm not meaning to insult you because I think you're all great people, and I don't mean to look down upon your country. That's not what I'm doing here because I don't think it's true. I personally
we're just
don't think
quoting
it's true.
people who are stating
I don't think that a civilized country would feel that way. But even if it was okay there to do that, he smacked her up in fucking New York.
Yeah.
There, none of that overseas shit flies when he did that here.
It doesn't matter if it's okay. It doesn't fucking matter if it's okay anywhere. It matters if it's okay to you as a human being, as an individual.
You should never try to find an excuse to condone what he did.
Right. If you believe as an individual that a man should never place his hands on a woman, then it doesn't matter where he's from or what the culture is or what you assume the culture is. Okay? And if you're okay with it, it's a free country. You can have your own thoughts. That's fine. You are just a piece of shit scumbag, and I don't want to be anywhere near you. And that's where we lose things here in America. It's like you're free to think or say however you feel. That's the beauty of this country. And you know what? People think like, oh, hate speech and if you have bad thoughts and whatever. No, that's how we sort out who's a scumbag and who isn't. Right? Like if you didn't have someone defending this guy like we did on Twitter, we wouldn't know who doesn't have their morals straight or who does.
There's one bad guy in this story, and it's Domingo German.
And it always will be.
We can blame the media for a lot of things. We know over the past 4 or 5 years, we can get into all that when we have nothing else to talk about if you really want to.
Yeah, I mean, across America, they're the least trusted institution in the country.
You cannot blame a newspaper beat writer for asking Zach Britton what he thinks about Domingo German. That's a question that needs to be asked. And of course, everybody's going to be picked up on it because it's spring training and it's a story that you have a guy that's just served a suspension for domestic abuse on the New York Yankees.
And it's something that the Yankees are very, very intelligent when it comes to media stuff. I mean, they prep their guys night and day for how to handle certain things. The Yankees knew very well that this would be, no matter who they picked up in the offseason, no matter how well built they would be for a World Series run, they knew this would be the leading story at a spring training. So again, you have to ask yourself, like, if you're the Yankees, did you weigh this enough? Did you weigh out the pros and cons of keeping him enough? Because this is already annoying me that it just seems it's not something that seems like it's on the road to being resolved.
All right. If you look, go ahead.
No, just saying internally, at least, you know.
If you look at this on the field, and this team is trying to compete for a title this year, is Domingo German, the pitcher, a piece that you would say would be a valuable piece towards winning a title this year?
Say that one more time, because
just take Domingo German, the pitcher, and what you expect out of him on the field, in between the white lines of a baseball field, on the diamond.
Yeah.
This team is trying to compete for a World Series this year. I would say they're a prohibitive favorite in the American League right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Is Domingo German a valuable piece to this team and what they're trying to accomplish this year?
I think you were a little distracted when I was making my point before. I think you were trying to find a quote or something. But I was saying, will the Yankees benefit from him coming back and being strong and effective? Of course. But do they actually need him to win a World Series? No.
Right. So what he brings, is it worth the headache that he's causing right now?
No, that's what I'm saying. You have to.
And this is the double. Yeah, but this is the double standard in sports, right? Domingo German is a fourth, fifth starter, a swing guy in the bullpen. He's not Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
He's not DJ LeMahieu. He's not Garrett Cole.
And it
he's
wouldn't
not a
make
vital...
what he did any better.
No,
that's not the
no,
point
it would
absolutely.
It absolutely would not make it
That's
any
not
better.
The point he's trying to make. The point he's trying to make is that when you see teams keep guys like this, it's a selfish and greedy thing because they're taking the importance of winning and making money over their moral values of what the person actually did. And usually when that happens, it's a superstar guy who is not an expendable player. And German does not meet that criteria.
No, this is the double standard in sports. You look past shit that you wouldn't look past if the guy's a superstar.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
And that's why this is such a question about whether or not he should be on the team, because of what look, Domingo German, the pitcher, can contribute to a lot of wins on this team. We all know that, but he's not one of the core guys. He's not a guy that you would say, if you lost him, the Yankees' chances of winning this year go down drastically.
Right.
But I'm just going to say his name because he's the ace of the staff and he's one of their best players. If Garrett Cole was accused of this, nobody's going out there and saying, oh, well, should the Yankees get rid of Garrett Cole? You want to know why? Right. Because if the Yankees don't have Garrett Cole, they don't win the World Series this year. And again, it doesn't make it right if Garrett Cole had done something like that. But,
No, but naturally you're opened up to accepting an apology and moving on from it if it's Garrett Cole as opposed to Domingo German. You want to read? I'll read you what Lindsay Adler wrote in The Athletic today. This is fucking frightening. Okay. This is absolutely frightening that a man would do this to another woman. Do you need a minute to pull it up?
I have it right here.
Okay.
Okay. In September 2019, German and his girlfriend attended a charity gala held by then teammate CC Sabathia. Many of German's 2019 teammates were also there with their families. German slapped his girlfriend at the event, sources said, but the MLB investigation focused primarily on what happened at home later that night. According to multiple sources, including a person with knowledge of the investigation, German was intoxicated and became physically violent toward his girlfriend until she hid in a locked room. The victim is said to have contacted the wife of another player, and the couple drove to Herman's house that night. The victim remained with the teammate's wife, and while the player attempted to calm down Herman, who was said to have been angry and belligerent. This she that is just that's fucking disgusting.
And
Disgusting.
it just goes against like someone trying to make the excuse and disgusting justification of it as being a cultural norm to maybe be more aggressive towards women in the Dominican Republic. Don't know if that's true or false. I'd have to imagine just that it's false, but maybe it's not. I don't know. Never researched any of that. But this is beyond that now. Now this goes back to going home. So you're saying men in the Dominican Republic, the culture there is to smack your girlfriend in public and then go home and frighten her enough with physical aggression that she has to lock herself in a room? Why would any women be with any men in the Dominican Republic if that were true?
Well, that's according to and the guy's name on I don't know, it could be a woman. The person's name on Twitter who came up with his name is Christian Freedom, and they have Bible quotes in their bio. So you're defending a woman beater.
And look, maybe he's not defending him. Maybe he's just trying. Maybe he learned something at one point or another, and he's bringing it up. And he's not necessarily.
Chris, we know how they treat women in the Middle East. We know how they do that over there, right?
Yeah.
Do you defend that and say, "Oh, that's their culture over there"?
No.
So there's no logical reason to even breach that subject of saying, "Well, that's how they treat women over there." So fuck it. Who cares?
Yeah. No. It's disgusting. I'm talking about the person's context who tweeted it. We don't know through a tweet. And again, this is an issue with communication. We don't know through a tweet what his actual purpose was, his or her purpose was of saying what he said. Maybe he was just trying to say that this is a norm. He wasn't trying to make it okay, but
no, but when he said, the not to get too far into this tweet here because we got more important things to talk about. But when that person goes on to say that they would be pissed off at us for interfering, that's almost as defending it because that's what they do over there. So let's leave them alone so they don't get mad at us.
And who cares if they're mad at us? Like, are we threatened by, as a country, as you know, militarily speaking, are we threatened by the Dominican Republic? Like. Let's
not go down that.
I'm speaking in a sense of morals
I understand.
Here. Like, who cares if they get angry at us? We're supposed to speak out for what's right and what's wrong. And this is clearly something that's.
This is just three instances of people that are kind of defending Herman here. You cannot defend what the guy did. If he takes the mound for the Yankees, I don't want to say that I have to look past it, but. Do you hope that, especially early in April, the guy gets fucking rocked and he has a 10 ERA and the Yankees just cut bait at that point, where it doesn't do too much it doesn't do too much damage to the season? I guess maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah, listen,
I don't know.
I got to say this. I got to be completely honest. I'm not justifying it if it were just a slap at the party. Okay, that's still fucking wrong. But I'd be more willing to hear what Domingo German had to say. I'd be more willing to hear how he's controlled this and become a better person. And I'd be more willing to accept his apology and to hope that this second chance he's getting, he makes the most of, and that he's a changed person, so on and so forth. This story that came out with Lindsay Adler, where not only did he do that, but he went home and continued this behavior to a point where she felt so threatened she had to lock herself in a room. Now you're just going beyond a mistake in a moment, right? Mistakes happen all the time. You can grade them on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the most outrageous. Even if you want to make that mistake a 10, mistakes happen in the heat of the moment. It shouldn't ever happen, but maybe they can, and maybe you accept apologies and hope and give a person a second chance. To me, this went beyond that now. And if I knew this going into knowing that Domingo German was going to stay on this team, I cannot sit here and say that I'd be okay with the Yankees doing it. And I'm actually disgusted that he's on this team. I am.
Right. not again, you do not, because if you talk about it without prefacing it, then people think you condone it. So I do not condone it in any way. But if he got angry and just a one-time thing slapped her, as bad as that is,
And immediately
and that
regretted
and
it
it
and knew it was
ended it
wrong.
and it ended it right there. I was a one-time thing. I'm sorry. I regret my actions. I should never have done it. I'm sorry. And you say everybody deserves a second chance. You have to earn the second chance, but everybody deserves one.
I'm big
The
in
fact
second
that
chances.
the fact that it continued at home showed he had no regret, no
Exactly.
remorse for what he did.
And that's a person
None.
that you don't need in this clubhouse. Sorry. Let another team give him a second chance at that point, man. Seriously, that's how I feel.
And when that guy Rye said, "Didn't we know that?" When I texted the story to you guys earlier, and SGR said, "Didn't we know this?" We knew the first part of it. That whole
Right,
thing about
right.
him going home and still terrorizing her, that's new. That was, I don't think that was out there before.
No,
And
I don't
that
think
does,
so.
and now that we're talking about it, that does shed a whole new light on it. It
Yeah,
does.
it does, because when you look at it in the context of he slapped her at the party and it was just like he was drunk, he got angry. Again, like Christian said, prefacing, don't condone that either. But when you hear that story and you're imagining it in your head, what you also imagine is Domingo German's a good person who made a bad mistake in the moment. And ultimately, he's going to realize that mistake and never let it happen again. But now, when you get this other story, the more detailed story, now any good thing you could have ever thought about Domingo German as a person goes away, because when you act upon something like that, it clearly shows it wasn't a mistake and this is who you are as a human being, that
And
you think this is okay.
what it also shows to me is that he probably did it again. Probably did it
It probably wasn't the
other
first time,
times.
and maybe it wasn't the last. We don't know. We hope it was. But this is a person who clearly um, isn't someone I would want as my teammate.
And again, now the next thing people always want to go to
Oh boy, you froze.
is you keep that same energy for Aroldis Chapman. Said it plenty of times on the show. We don't condone what Aroldis Chapman did either.
No,
We don't.
no.
Even if now you read the police report, because the cops were called on that incident and she showed no visible signs of abuse, and she didn't press charges, and you want to take it at the cops' word, her word, that he didn't actually hit her, he's still a fucking lunatic for getting in an argument with his girl and going to shoot off a gun in his fucking garage. That's not normal behavior.
No, it is definitely
That's
not.
why he tried. And we've when did he come here? 16, right? It was 2016 he got traded here, and then he got shipped off to the Cubs. So he's pretty much been a Yankee since 2016, because he came back in 2017. We've seen this guy now 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. This will be the 6th year he's been with the Yankees. We've seen this guy plenty of times to know that he's not all there upstairs. He
No.
tried to fucking kill Mike Brasso last year. I don't care what anybody. I don't care what anybody said. The guy throws a 101-mile-an-hour fastball. He's got, and we know that he doesn't have the control all the time, but he's got enough control to know
Yeah.
that ball was coming up at his fucking head last
Oh,
year.
yeah.
Okay, he's not a sane person. We're not condoning what he did in his house in 2015 or whenever it was. He got suspended also for having a domestic disturbance. Because remember, that's why the Yankees literally sent a fungo and a used bag of Cracker Jacks in a single A pitcher over there to get him.
Mm-hmm.
One of
Yeah.
the premier closers in baseball. That's how they got him. And again, what happened? Now the Cubs needed a closer, and we'll just look past that, and we'll send their top prospect over there because we need to win a World Series.
Yep.
And this is what we're talking about with the double standard in sports. Chapman is an elite pitcher. He is. I know Yankee fans don't want to hear it because he's ended the season in heartbreak to it the last 3 years, or the past 2 years. He's an elite pitcher. I think we can all say that he's an elite closer in this league. So
Yeah.
you look past it a little bit. You're like, hey,
It's not even, you know what? Let's not even say that. Let's just keep it as simple as this. Let's just keep it as simple as asking yourself, can you see whether you agree with it or not, can you see why the Yankees would forgive Chapman for what he did based on his talent? And the answer is yes. You can see why they would do it. Not that it's okay, not that you agree with it, but you can see why the Yankees would do it.
And the Cubs.
And the Cubs. But now you ask that same question with Domingo German and what we know. The answer is no. I don't see how or why the Yankees are letting this guy put pinstripes back on. I don't see it. I just don't.
Right. And another couple of differences between German and Chapman. We don't know if he hit her. We don't know. Apparently he didn't. That's what
we know he's got a few screws loose. And we don't have any proof of anything else after that.
And we have no proof of anything else after that. He apparently has been a model citizen since. So even if he, again, do not condone it, but even if he did strike her, choke her that night, it would seem to be a one-time isolated incident where he realized that he was wrong, took the steps to repent, and has been for being a fucking psycho, a model citizen since then. Mm-hmm. Domingo German has not shown that he gets it. We've seen the bullshit that he's pulled on social media just this week where, look, bro, the second or third day of spring training where your manager has to sit down and talk to you about the dumb shit you do on social media after you return to the team for beating your girlfriend is a fucking distraction that nobody needs. Aaron Boone should not have Domingo German in his office coming off of what he did to speak to him about how he does what he does on social media. That just shows me he doesn't get it, that he's not sorry for what he did. And there's no need for this fucking statement today either.
No.
Well, half my team's not
and
here.
And it sucks we have to spend this much time talking about it.
Speak to the fucking guy. You know what, Chris? If half the team's not here, then speak to the guys that are here. Talk to them. Get that out of the way. Why is the air not cleared with Zach Britton? He put you on fucking blast in front of everybody.
Yeah,
I should be the first guy you talk to. Because I'm sure as much
beforehand.
As it pains Zach Britton, he probably had to go up there. And that's probably another reason why Zach Britton said what he said. As his player rep, he probably had to go out there and fucking fight for Domingo German.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not okay. Like, this should have been resolved by now. And I should have said this before. But like, I'm just thinking about it in my head, and not to harp on the tweet that was sent to us. I'm not trying to attack this person who's saying it's culture in Dominican Republic. I have a lot of Dominican friends and have had in the past. I know no story of or seen any signs of them thinking it's okay to hit their wives or girlfriends or any woman. So if that's true and you're going to make that accusation, you better come with some proof. Maybe a small percentage of Dominicans see that as cultural behavior. But guess what? So do Americans. So does anywhere in the world. So that's no justification. You just there's no justifying what this guy did.
SGR, you're being kind of quiet over there. You want to?
He's just hungover. He's just soaking it all in. He's like a sponge right now.
Yeah, guys.
He's like a sponge. He's trying to rebuild his brain at this point.
And you guys are saying you're saying the things that I'm thinking alongside of you. You know, it's a lot, but I'm also really, really shot right now.
Really shot.
Yeah. I'm tired.
So right now, as we sit here on February 21st, we have no real resolution. It just seems like he's going to be on this team. I mean, if you are Hal Steinbrenner, don't you have to tell Brian Cashman, look, I don't even care what happens at this point. He's got to go.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's just no other way to put it.
It just seems that like I just keep getting to the point here where it's like I don't condone it. And even if it went back to how it went back when they got back to the house that night, it just seems to me that he still doesn't get it. He still doesn't get it. Aaron Boone should not be wasting his time the second or third day of spring training talking to this guy about what he does on social media.
Yeah, that's
That's
the
a
biggest
guy.
problem.
That's a guy that doesn't get it. Can he be that fucking tone deaf to what he did?
Yeah, I mean this is when we, everyone says don't judge a book by its cover, right? Well, we've pretty much read the whole book now, and I haven't turned to any pages where I've seen anything different than a guy who just not only doesn't know how to behave and act and respect other people, but doesn't really show any signs of remorse or any signs of being a changed person. And in that sense, there's no time for that. I'm sorry. Like, just like we talk about prospects who haven't made a major league impact yet, and we don't have any time for that bullshit right now. Like, we don't have any time for this kind of bullshit either. We need to win a World Series. We don't need to worry about how Domingo German is going to interact with players and if he's a changed person right now. This is something that they don't need. They do not need it.
It's become way too much of a story now. And
Yep.
and you want to blame somebody for that. It's Domingo German's fault. He's the one that committed the offense. But Zach Britton made sure that it became a story of what he said. Now, you're not taking any of the blame away from Domingo German because he's a fucking scumbag that did this, okay? And now we find out that he's a real. We always thought he was a piece of shit, but now he's just on another fucking level because he decided he was going to take it home and scare the girl into fucking locking herself in a closet that she had to call somebody to calm this son of a bitch down. But the reason why this blew up the way it did is because Zach Britton stood in front of the media and said what he said. Do you agree that Zach Britton should have said something like that to the media, or is that something that needs to be said behind closed doors, that it doesn't get out? That this isn't a story.
My first take on it all was you don't say that out loud until you've sat down and spoken with the player himself and he's had a chance to talk to everyone. But the more I'm reading into this now, I'm seeing it from a different perspective. I'm seeing it from a guy in Zach Britton who is speaking on behalf of everyone, and everyone's frustrated that this isn't resolved and they clearly don't see a different person, or at least anyone who's making an attempt to show that he's grown from this. And I think Zach Britton felt it was his responsibility to call out the Yankees at this point. He wasn't really calling out Domingo German, right? I mean, like, we all know that any decent human being doesn't really want to be around this guy. But at this point, because of Domingo German's lack of motivation to make things right, now Zach Britton has nothing left to do but kind of take a shot at the Yankee organization, that he can't choose his teammates, that the Yankees choose his teammates for him, and they chose someone that no one wants around. And I think that that's where you just have to leave it. I mean, that his shot was not at Domingo German, in my opinion. His shot was at the Yankee organization. And if he's speaking on behalf of an entire clubhouse, that's not a good culture. That's not a World Series winning culture to start the season right now. And that's shit that we don't need.
I think being called the player rep, I think that alone justifies him speaking on the matter publicly, because you were chosen to represent the players of the Yankees. You're the voice of the Yankees, of the players. So whatever you want to say, we're allowing you to say it because you're the guy we picked to represent us. So, it creates a little bit of fuel to the fire. It adds a little bit to it. Whatever that phrase is that I just butchered.
You're drunk.
Fuel to the fire. I think you had it.
Fuel to the fire. I had it. If that's how he feels, then I'm in total agreement with him speaking his mind and representing the players.
All right. So unless there's anything else that you guys really want to break down about German, I think we're all in agreement that as of now, based on the new information that we have, that he's got to go. I don't think it's worth it. Look, again, you try not to sound like somebody that condones this, because you fucking don't, but it's just not worth the distraction right now.
Is it worth him pitching 7 innings, right? Or he has a great start and then Britton comes in the game, and like, how's he going to feel? Like, if that's how he feels about this guy, he's going to have to come and relieve him.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
it's
that
tough to put
could
behind you.
potentially it becomes a whole there's so much more to it, and it becomes that question of, is it worth it? Is all the off the field stuff worth the on the field? Who knows, man?
Yeah,
But you get what I'm saying.
yeah.
You
So
know,
let's see what the fans.
that's could go. That would suck.
Let's see what the fans had to say. This week's Twitter question was, "What was your reaction to Zach Britton's 'You don't get to control who your teammates are'" comments regarding Domingo German? So we'll just read a few here. There's one that I wanted to bring up because I wanted to touch on this actual point that he makes. Martin Stazanzo says, "Love what Britton said. I'm tired of the keep it in the clubhouse narrative. Britton wanted to make it clear that what Herman did was unacceptable. Now, here's what I take issue with: silence can be interpreted as compliance." And he goes on to say, "Britton wants no part of that toxicity." I don't really like that line there. That silence can be interpreted as compliance, because I think this also leans into some stuff that's been happening out in the real world, so to speak, here, where if you don't speak up on something, you're compliant with it, which I don't agree with. Just because you don't come out and denounce something doesn't mean that you're in favor of it. That's just what I want to say about that. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with that. Like, if you don't come out and say, "Oh, racism is bad," that means you're a racist. It's not fucking true. Just
No,
because you don't come out and say, "Oh, don't," the Holocaust was bad. It just, that means you were in condone what the Nazis did. It's not fucking true. And that part of the statement I don't like. And that goes beyond baseball and what was happening with Herman here. Silence doesn't mean compliance, in my
no.
opinion. And I know people are going to disagree with me on that, and that's fine. But I don't agree with that at
Well, look,
all.
you're responsible for yourself. You're responsible for your family, and that's where your focus should be. Just because you're silent doesn't necessarily mean you're compliant. It means that you are focused on things internally, making sure that your own family, your own offspring aren't going to be bad people and have good morals and so on and so forth. So I don't necessarily think that's true at all. I don't agree with that statement at all, especially in a culture where if you speak up and say the wrong thing, you're friggin' murdered. Um, but I think Britain just felt he had a responsibility at this point. And again, I was I was more of a keep it in the clubhouse type of reaction when I looked at it as him making a dig at Domingo Herman. Not that Domingo Herman shouldn't get friggin' scolded for it. I'm just saying as a clubhouse reasons right now, you got to keep that internally until the situation comes to some type of resolve, whether it's him being shipped out or you're giving him a second chance. But now I see it as a dig at the Yankees, and I think it was something Britain felt absolutely needed to be said. So I'm on board with it.
All right, you really want to read a winner of a fucking comment here?
Yes.
How about at Mac95er? Britton seems like an asshole of a teammate. I hope Herman wins 20 games this year.
Solid.
Fiverr in there?
It's solid. Really.
I mean, do you even want to like get mad about that? Because this
No.
person is a fucking.
I don't let
It has to be a
comments like
troll.
that get me
It has to be
mad.
like a
Yeah.
troll comment, right?
Yeah, I don't let comments like that.
Because if you
anger
really
me.
think Britain is the fucking asshole here, you just need to remove yourself from society.
Yeah, I agree.
The other Ryan, stadium status. I was upset that he let it leave the clubhouse, as I think any personal issue should be handled internally. But now that it's out there and he expresses frustration, maybe they can move on and just play ball. I'm a big believer in not letting things linger around.
Yeah, I mean, they're faced with a situation that the players can't necessarily control. The only way they can control it is by speaking out the way Britain did and to see what happens. That's why I'm on board now with the Yankees just cutting ties, because it doesn't seem like anyone really wants him there.
And we'll read one last run here from at David Rifkin. He was asked a direct question, and as one of the leaders of the team and league, I like that he gave a direct answer. Hal has provided similar sentiments. If Herman isn't self-aware enough to clear the air with his team and knock off the social media BS, then it's time to move on. And that last sentence right there, he isn't. He is not self-aware enough to know.
And that's my issue. That's my biggest issue, on top, not with what he did, but with the person I need to see that I'm okay with rooting for and being on this team. And that's seeing a guy who has made us confident and made his teammates confident and his family confident that he has changed as a person and sees what he did as being as disturbing and evil as it was. And it just isn't showing that. So,
All right. You know, I don't like to bring the show down with this negative bullshit.
time to bring it up,
So
baby.
now it's time to bring it up. There was some news that broke. Was it Friday? Friday, right?
I think Friday, yeah.
Yeah.
Friday night.
There's a return to the Bronx. A longtime Yankee will stay a longtime Yankee.
I'm so happy. You gonna announce it? You gonna announce the news?
I thought you said
no,
you had
I
something
have
planned.
information. I wanted you to break the news, obviously, in case anyone lives under a rock who we're talking about.
Yeah, Brett Gardner is back, a 1-year deal. He'll be here in 2021. John Heyman reported that there is also a option on the contract. I'm assuming it's a Yankee team option. I haven't followed up.
Yeah,
or
club
seen.
option for 2022.
All right, so they're
Worth,
SGR.
reached a deal on a 1-year contract worth $4 million with club and team options for 22.
Why would you ask me to break the news? You know SGR's got it in tight with Gardy.
So
since the name change, yeah.
For me, it
that's
was
it.
like Cashman made his statements about Gardy, and like it kind of seemed like he could take him or leave him. And then like Cashman made the deals with Kluber and Tyon, and then he picked up Jay Bruce and whoever else. And then it was like it kind of just seems like he forgot about Gardy. And then out of nowhere, you texted me that Gardy's a Yankee. And it was like, I need to reach out to someone, one of our close sources with the Yankees, and I need to figure out like if there's anything behind this. And I can't, and this person couldn't attest to if this was the reason why Cashman ended up signing him, but she leaked audio to me that Gardner sent directly. I don't know if it was a voicemail. I don't know if he mailed it to him, but
So this is actually Gardner.
Yeah, this is what Gardner sent directly
Gardy
to
audio.
Cashman's office, not to anyone else. I'm sure everyone in the organization has heard it at this point. I'm only going to play like 2 minutes or so. I don't want to drag it out. If you stay till the end of the episode, I'll play the remaining bit of it. And if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, I'll post it as a completely separate video. It's like almost 5 minutes long, but I'll play like 2.5 minutes. So sit back and just kind of enjoy it. Take of it what it is, and you know, we'll run from there. But this is what Gardy sent directly to Cashman. And it could have been why he ended up being signed.
And now the end is near, so I face the final curtain. My gods, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full, I traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, then again, too few to mention.
Guys got a lighter?
I did what I had to do, saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and Lord, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew.
Now, who fucking knew the guard dog could have the pipes
Holy-
like that?
Did you know he
Dude.
could sing?
Unreal.
I mean, I don't know for sure, but if I'm Cashman, I'm calling him right up and lending him a contract.
He had
at
to
that
have,
point.
yeah. Immediate.
And was that
good for
Minka?
him.
Did
He
he get
fought-
Minko to harmonize with
I
him?
I think I heard Minko harmonizing with him there at some point. That was John Minko.
You know, the funny thing is that that's Derek Jeter's goodbye
I was
song.
gonna say too. He stole a page from Jeter's book.
Took a shot at Derek
Ah.
Jeter.
Yeah, was
took
you
a
think
shot
it was a
at
shot?
Jeter,
You
right?
think it was a
Yeah.
shot? I think it was a shot.
Because you know why I think he sent that? He did that song because I have it on good authority that he tried to sign a deal with the Marlins, and Jeter told him, "No, I don't want you on the
so
team."
This was
So
his
he-
shot.
this
Got
was
it.
his shot back at Derek Jeter.
Wow.
Inside scoop. You don't get it anywhere else.
You don't
guys.
get that shit.
I got
Come
that on a
bro.
whim,
Boy
man. I
girls.
reached out out of nowhere and I got gold in return. So
So last week we
Sorry,
probably
Derek.
spent half the show arguing about how there was no spot on Brett Gardner for this team, and now Brett Gardner is back on this team.
yeah. Well, we didn't really argue it. We were kind of
No, I
just trying to
think we
make
were in
sense
it-
of it.
Yeah, right.
And my point was there's never necessarily a time where the Yankees had to be like, yes, we need Brett Gardner or else we don't win a World Series. So like you never really had to justify it other than the tangible, the intangible, things that, surround baseball, I guess you can say. And that's like, this guy's a veteran. He's a guy that you want leading the clubhouse. He's a guy that's been a Yankee longer than anyone. And he's a guy that the fans, he deserves to hear the fans' appreciation on his final day. And with all that, you get a contract.
Right. And like we were saying with Herman, with Britain, is that what it's not always what is said, it's by it's more so sometimes who says it. You should see did you see the reaction that a lot of his teammates had to Brett Gardner coming back?
No, and I could only imagine.
You guys universally loved and respected in that clubhouse.
Of course he is, man. He's from fucking Holly Hill.
Yeah,
And again-
Judge tweeted about it. Clint Frazier tweeted about it. It was all over.
And I know that CeCe's not on a team anymore, but he also was very happy that Guardy's coming back. So, those guys were longtime teammates. I think now we can look at it from a baseball perspective. If Brett Gardner wasn't on this team this year, I was okay with it. He is what he is at this point in his life, 37 years old. He's not a starting player anymore. He should not be a starting player anymore. If he is a starting player this year, again, like we've been saying 100 times with other guys on his team, something went wrong.
Yeah.
So, and I think, and I take it from this perspective first, is that a lot of Yankee fans were upset that he came back. And
Why?
For the life of me, I don't get it. Brett Gardner, and I think Sweeney Murdy might have made this point. This guy has been completely underrated his entire career. He's not somebody that came up in 2000. Was it 2008 he came up? Was his first year that he was here?
2008
got a-
was his first.
2008 he was up.
I know he's
had
got
a cup
ring.
of coffee in 2008. 2009 was his first like real season.
He's not, when he came up in 2008, he's not a guy that you would expect it that would have lasted till 2021 as a New York Yankee, and he's still here.
Yeah, my respect for Gardy changed about 5 years ago or so. I think Gardner profiled as a guy that you were expecting certain things from, and because you were expecting those certain things, you were ignoring what he was actually doing on the field. And then on top of that, when you put aside what you were expecting of him and you looked at what he was actually doing, and then you saw him become a leader in the clubhouse, how could you not love the guy? I mean, honestly, like I used to knock him because to me, he was here for speed. The Yankees didn't have a lot of guys who could steal a bag. And I felt like the guy just never left first base when he should. Not only was that wrong to just focus on that and not anything else, but you come to learn when you really study the organization enough that they don't really believe in stealing bases. I mean, it's not like something that they really put any importance on. And you really look at what Gardner's done, and you can easily say he's an extremely overrated player. I mean, underrated. Sorry. I mean, he's been, especially over the last few years, the guy's been fucking good, man. And he's been reliable. I mean, Gardner has been reliable since 2009.
Right. You want to knock him for being 37 years old, but it seems like every time somebody drops, there's Brett Gardner ready to step in and play.
Every time. And he plays for as long as you need him.
Right. And I think a lot of people's problem was that they think that he's going to take playing time away from Clint Frazier. And I don't think that's the case. Brett Gardner, Aaron Boone, prior to them signing Brett Gardner, and it's not quote official yet because they need to make a 40-man roster move, but you know, Boone did the old wink yesterday at it when he was talking about it. He also said yesterday that Clint Frazier is the starting left fielder. Clint Frazier is the starting left fielder on this team. But that doesn't, and then people freaked out when Boone said a guy like Gardy will get plenty of playing time here. That doesn't mean that he's going to be the starting left fielder. That means as much as we hope to God it's not the case, based on the track records, Hicks and Judge will get hurt. Who were
the four guys outside of Gardy who can play outfield right now for the Yankees? Name their top four.
Your three, I guess you'd say your three starters.
Okay, who?
Hicks, Judge, and Frazier.
Okay, and then who would be your fourth?
Would you want to say Mike Tauchman would have been the fourth outfielder
No,
at that
no.
point?
I'd
John
say,
Carlos Stanton.
Right. I'd say Stanton. I'm talking about like the main guys who you expect, to be productive. Right.
But if Stanton plays 10 games in the outfield this year, I think that'll be a lot.
Yes, I agree with you, but I'm just making a point here. Out of all those guys, whether it be health, getting injured, or just being incompetent and getting in their own head and not being productive, out of those four guys, can you name one that you can confidently say none of that will happen to? That they won't get
many.
That they won't get injured or they won't slump.
You can, and you have to be fair about it. You can't.
And at that point, don't you want a guy who you know is reliable and can still be productive?
Right, because I think the argument here is not, well, he's going to take time away from Clint Frazier.
No.
The guy that really should be feeling it right now is Mike Tauchman. Now he has no spot on this team. There's no room for Mike Tauchman.
No.
And at 30 years old and being a complete bum last year, and again, like we always say, what do you really want to make out of 2020? What I want to make out of 2020 is that Mike Tauchman was a complete non-factor. He looked completely fucking lost out there.
Yeah.
He looked like he had no clue what he was doing at the plate. And so much so that he made Tyler Wade look like fucking Ken Griffey Jr. That's how bad he looked at the plate last year.
Yeah, and that's another point I meant to make during my thing before just now. You think the Yankees baby their players now? They just went a full season where they only played 60 games. And now they have to get ready to play 162. So they haven't played a 162 game season in 2 years now. You think the Yankees aren't going to want to give these guys more rest than normal, especially the guys who are injury prone?
Without being a starting player, I can easily see how Brett Gardner starts 100 games this year.
Absolutely.
Easily.
Absolutely.
Think about it. We love Aaron Judge. We do. I know Stat Guy Right hates him for some reason. He must have stiffed him at an autograph show or some shit. But
I hate him. I hate Aaron Judge.
Triggered guy right now.
Yeah.
TGR.
TGR. But how many times have I said it? Aaron Judge needs to play at least 145 games this year, right?
Yeah.
If this guy is completely healthy this year, that number he won't even come close to that fucking number. There's no way the Yankees let this guy play 145 games this year if he's completely healthy. Where do you think he's going to sit? Like 135, 140? That's the max that he's going to play.
Right.
The same thing with Aaron Hicks. We know Aaron Hicks is one good sneeze away from an oblique injury.
Oh, forget it.
But even if Aaron Hicks is healthy, he's not playing more than 135, 140 games. Right there, that's 30 starts for each guy. That's 60 games.
There you go.
Then boom, Clint Frazier's not playing a 162. I looked at it today. Clint Frazier, the most games he's played in the major leagues is 69.
Good number.
69 games.
Nice.
Intentionally.
He could have played 70 that one year, and he told Boone,
sit me out. I hit my mark, please.
He was going to start the last game of the year in 2018.
What guy who knows how Gardner is in the clubhouse doesn't want him there? Like what guy in the clubhouse is upset?
I'll give you
about
two
this?
guys. Clint Frazier because he stole his fucking turtlenecks. And now
Okay.
Mike Tauchman because he's like, you old motherfucker, will you please get out of here? So I can be the fourth outfielder.
Yeah, I just never got on the talk train.
No, I think everybody was kind of on the talk train in 19. He
Oh
actually
yeah, it was
looked like
great, but
I think
we
he
all
actually
had
looked like
our-
he could have been a competent player. You thought he was another one of these diamonds that Brian Cashman found. And then he looked, and out there last year, the guy, what was his slugging percentage last year? 200? Did the guy have an extra base hit last year?
did he have a base hit at all?
I think
I
he had a batting average.
don't remember Mike Tauchman last year.
I remember him on base like once, and I looked up and I was like, "Fuck, is he doing there?"
Yeah.
He had a 305 slug
Shut the fuck up.
compared to a 504 in 2019.
Yeah, so that's where the big discrepancy is. Like that 304 felt like a 104.
But you look at the on base percentage in 2019, it was 361. In 2020, it was 342. So he still finds a way to get on base.
Yeah.
Right.
Does
Right. He
pinch
might as
running
well
count
go up
for
there
that?
with go up there with a fucking celery stick because that's about as useful as his bat is.
Yeah, I don't think the Yankees have a lot
Yeah,
riding
but-
on Mike
yeah.
Tauchman to fill any shoes. And I wouldn't honestly like. I'm not trying to be unfair to Tauchman because he did have a great 2019 for them. But the fact that everyone had their doubts of like that being a fluke, and then he comes back last year and he just really doesn't contribute in any big way. Are you telling me you'd rather that guy still?
Right, while you have it
over-
up, how many
over
games
Gardner?
did he play last year, Talkman?
He played 43.
So he played most of the season.
Wow.
Yeah,
Why do I?
43 out of the 60 games.
Does it show how many games he started though?
No, not here.
Because
could try
I
to find it.
remember Tauchman coming into a lot of games.
Right, but Judge, you also remember Judge was hurt.
Right.
Hicks did it. Did he start the season on time? He might have because of COVID. I don't remember.
He did, yes.
But he didn't play every day.
I think he
So-
started in 27 games.
There you go.
But
I
it's
mean,
still half
that's-
this. Yeah, but still that's half the season. That was half the season last year.
Mhm.
The guy's a wet noodle.
Yeah,
You
but
want me
that
to go one further? The guy's a
Noodle.
limp dick. He's a limp dick at the plate.
Yeah.
For a guy, I mean, come on, the guy carries a piece of wood up there, and sometimes the jokes write themselves.
Yeah, I mean the guy that 27 number though makes more sense to me in my brain. Like of how many games he started. If Judge didn't get hurt, then how many games he's starting? 12? I mean, that's like nothing.
But going back to the point about Frazier, he has not played at 70 games in a major league season.
Yeah.
So what are you expecting out of him this year? He's not going to go from 70 to 150, especially the way the Yankees rest their guys. And again, somebody brought this point up to me today. Oh, well, Boone said that Frazier was left fielder last year and then Gardner played in the postseason. There's a big difference between playing in a short postseason series and playing 162. You don't have time to let guys ride out slumps when you're in a postseason series. I would never, and we'll talk about Gary Sanchez in a couple of minutes here. I don't want Kyle Gashioka being the fucking starting catcher over Gary Sanchez in 162. But in the division series last year, he absolutely deserves to fucking play over Gary Sanchez.
Yeah, because Gary Sanchez had zero value at that point.
You have no time to sit there and coddle egos and see if a guy's going to turn around and get hot in the postseason. The postseason's about, the regular season is about winning too, but the postseason, you have no time. You lose 2 games, you're done. Your season's over.
And the thing with Gary is like, it'd be a different story if the Yankees gave up on him mid-season and he didn't have the opportunity to turn his shit around. But the Yankees, time and time again, ran him out there, which they should have. I'm not saying they were wrong, but when it comes to the postseason, you've had all that fucking time. If you still haven't found it, you're nothing. You're useless.
Right. And then if you look at, if you go back the last 2-3 weeks of the season, heading into the postseason, one of the hottest hitters on the team was Brett Gardner, and one of the coldest hitters on the team was Clint Frazier. It was almost a no-brainer for Aaron Boone at that point, or Brian Cashman. Right. So I don't think Gardy's here to take playing time away from anybody, but I also think that Boone's right. He's going to get a lot of playing time. Guys are going to get, unfortunately, guys are going to get nicked up. They're probably going to spend time in the injured list. And even if they don't, they're not playing 162. They're going to play 130, 135. And I'll tell you what, if Aaron Judge is on the field for 135 games this year, he's winning a fucking MVP. You want to take a hot take from this show leading into the season. If Aaron Judge plays 135 games this year, he's winning a fucking MVP award.
Ooh.
I
You
think
also have to take.
Real quick. Remember that
Yeah,
ranking
go.
list we were talking about last week, Chris, when Gio was 78?
Yes.
I think Aaron Judge came in at 21.
Wow.
He's going to make a lot of people regret that if he's healthy this year.
What about Stanton? Wasn't he at 98?
He was like 97, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And you also have to think they're going to ease into this season, considering this is the first full year in 2 years.
Yeah, that's what I was saying
Yeah.
before. They're gonna baby these guys even more now.
Yeah.
The only upside is Toronto's not playing in Toronto, right?
No, they're not. They're playing in Dunedin at least
So we
through
don't.
April.
So we don't have the Toronto turf excuse. That's the only upside.
So I guess what happens if the Blue Jays make the postseason this year? Are we doing? I mean, we do a bubble?
Who knows?
I hope
man?
not,
Who knows?
because I didn't even realize this because it's fucking hockey. But they realigned all the divisions, so you play in your region in all seven, and you're only playing your division this year. And all 7 Canadian teams are in the same division, so that's why they're allowed to play in Canada, because there's no travel in and out. So I'm assuming that once we get to the postseason in hockey, they're going to have to do a bubble.
Tell me more about hockey.
No, let's move on.
A.
So I know one guy on this team is definitely excited that Gardy's back, and that's SGR. He's definitely excited. He's going to be able to keep that connection with Gardy for another year.
I know.
Hey, man, you know what? I'm glad the guy's back. He's got a ring, but he needs to get a ring. You need to send
Bookend
Gardy
it.
out with a ring.
Bookend
here.
it, baby. Bookend his career with this.
Like I said, I don't get all the irrational hate towards the guy. The guy's a grinder. He's a fucking hustler. He works hard. I mean,
A leader.
you want to be a Yankee fan. You want to say you respect the homegrown guys, the guys that grind it, not the overpriced diva superstars. It's why you hate Stan. It's why you hate A-Rod. Who's the antithesis of that? It's fucking Brett Gardner.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Out of all the huge guys in that clubhouse, because the
Huge.
Yankees have some massive, huge guys. If there's
How-
one
how huge,
player,
Chris?
if there's one player I wouldn't fuck with out of all of them, it's Gardy.
Oh,
That
you see
dude's a
that?
fucking nutcase. He has like that stupid strength where he'll just
Yeah.
kill you.
Look, remember back in the 70s, the Incredible Hulk show was before CGI, so they had Lou Ferrigno play the Hulk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gardy could play the fucking Hulk.
Gardy could be the Hulk.
That's hilarious.
Gardy could be the fucking Hulk, man.
All right, we got a couple things we got to touch on here before we wrap up the show. We mentioned it briefly. Gary Sanchez. Now, Robinson Chirino signed a minor league deal. He's here. So a lot of people thought that meant the end of Gary Sanchez. Yes, because the catchers this year were going to be Robinson Chirinos and Kyle Higashioka, everybody. Those are the catchers.
Yes.
Okay.
Duh.
All right. But there's something that I wanted to bring up because I found it very interesting. All 3 of the Yankees' recent top picks that are catchers, Siegler, right?
Mhm.
Josh Bro and Austin Wells are all in camp. Now, not every minor leaguer gets invited to camp. I thought it was very interesting. All 3 of those guys were invited to camp this year. Not to mention, and most importantly, Austin Wells is projected as the most major league ready of the 3. And the hype train is gotten behind Austin Wells. Now, is the hype train behind Austin Wells because maybe next year, 2 years, Austin Wells is the catcher of the Yankees? Or is the hype train behind Austin Wells because
Go
Gary
bye-bye.
Sanchez needs a fucking light up his ass. Very,
Yeah.
very interesting to me.
I think I think this is the biggest issue with the Yankees and Gary Sanchez. They're trying to see what buttons they need to press in order to get the most out of him. And like, I think Joe Girardi maybe did it best, even though it pissed Gary Sanchez off. I think at that point in time, you were seeing a guy who had more of a fire up his ass. And maybe that's their point behind this. I just don't see that happening with Gary. I don't think that that's it. I think the button you need to press with Gary isn't one of motivation to beat anyone else out or lose his job. I think the button to press with Gary is putting someone on top of him, not physically, but putting a more of a veteran presence and giving him that mentor. And that's why I was huge on the Vlad idea, but he ended up staying in St. Louis.
You mean Yadi Molina?
Yachty, sorry. But that's the only way I see Gary actually being comfortable and just not overthinking anymore and being the guy that I just think this is going to cause more of a head case player in Gary, because I think that's what Gary is right now.
Right. Higgy doesn't have options left, right?
I don't doubt Gary's abilities. Do you? Like, just because he was bad, do you doubt?
I doubt his mental space.
That's what I'm saying. So do you think that saying, hey, Gary, probably going to lose your position again, we're going to hype up Austin Wells, or we're going to release you because of it, do you think that's what's going to turn the tide and he's going to become the player you want him to be again?
Well,
I think it's just going to cause more of a friggin'...
But to your point, though, I don't think Higashioka has options left. So they're not going to lose Higashioka for Robinson Chirinos.
I don't know. I thought he did have an option left, Higgy.
I don't
trying
know.
to find it.
It's almost as if we had a stat guy on the show at one point.
Nah, don't trigger him,
Oh.
man.
Wait. Wait. I think I don't think he has any left.
I don't think he does.
I don't know. I gotta find a good website.
How old?
To find
He's
that.
30 though. Right? He's 30 now.
Oh Jesus Christ. I don't even know. Oh, he's 30. Yeah, he's 30.
Yeah. So I don't think he's got options left. He's been back.
His birthday's 4/20.
Smoke it up, dog.
Smoking Higgies.
Smoking those funny ciggies.
You think
Yeah.
he does?
Isn't he from Hawaii?
On his birthday.
I don't know.
I think he's Hawaiian.
I don't do much reading on Kyle Higashioka.
I don't. Yeah,
I
that's
don't
why
do
too.
much research on him. Want to know why? Because he's not supposed to be the
It's-
player
yeah,
you really
it
care
says-
about.
MILB options 0. So
Yeah, I didn't think he
Wow.
did. So they're not going to lose Higashioka for fucking Robinson Chirinos. So there's really not going to be a veteran presence on this team to light Gary up, unless you want to say Chirinos is going to kick his ass in spring training. But Dallas Braden was on with the Muppet and Maggie earlier this week, and that was a fucking train wreck in and of itself. But I was listening to it, and Braden said that because they brought up Gary Sanchez. And Braden said that Gary Sanchez is washed, basically. Like, he doesn't have the mental capacity to overcome this.
Yeah, that's where I am on it. I don't think he doesn't have the mental capacity to overcome it. I just think that this is clearly a mental thing, and he went through a downward spiral where he couldn't get himself out of it last year. And an off season can do a lot for a player in that sense.
Right, but
That's why I'm going against the whole let's light a fire under his ass by threatening him with how much we love another catcher. I don't think that's, and I'm not saying the Yankees aren't doing that for that reason, but if they are, I feel like it's the wrong move, because that's not, in my opinion, how you're going to get the most out of Gary Sanchez.
I just found it very interesting that all three of these guys are in camp, and especially they're, you didn't hear any, normally sometimes they bring up guys, you don't hear anything about it except for that they're there, but there's media attention behind Austin Wells being there, and there's a reason for that, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I think the more logical reason, if I have them there for the right reasons, I'm not saying that your theory is wrong. I think it could 100% be correct. But if I'm having them there logically for the right reasons, is that after last year, and rightfully so, I don't see Gary Sanchez as my future catcher anymore. And I really want to see what these guys are made of. It's not so much of a threat to Gary. It's more of I don't really care how you feel right now, and I'm sorry that you're struggling, but we need to look out for us, and I need to see what these guys are made of right now. And I think
Right, I
that's a
don't-
more logical reason for having them up if you're the Yankees. But everything could point to what you're saying.
I think that a lot. Also, I think the Yankees didn't let him go in the offseason is because I think Brian Cashman didn't want egg on his face for having this at one time can't miss prospect, especially the way he tore up Major League Baseball in 2016 and 2017, and absolutely getting nothing in return for him. But I think the relationship in the marriage has kind of changed because we never talked about this, and this is a few months old now. Gary Sanchez in an interview said he had no idea why he was benched in the postseason.
Yes.
You can't be that fucking dense to not know why you were on the bench.
Cashman ripped him for that too.
And he did. He fucking ripped him for it, and rightfully so. He said nobody
He knows
communicated.
the year he had. We know the year he had, and it's as simple as that.
Let me tell you something, dude. I was listening. I was going from your Cashman impression to Cashman actually speaking, and I was dying laughing. It's so good. But I got to say
like
this.
a side by side.
Just like when we talked about Domingo German, right? And seeing a guy who has changed and made himself better, whether it be as a human being or as a baseball player, the first step to that is admitting what was wrong and what it is that you need to focus on to change. And just like Domingo German not making any statement, like I understand his point of not talking to everyone, but you still should have made a statement about how wrong it was what you did, and make something. Show me that you know how wrong it was. And it's kind of the same thing with Gary. Like Gary standing up there and saying, I don't know why I was benched, makes me think I'm looking at a guy who is so delusional.
Unaware. It's
doesn't even-
all about that awareness.
Yes,
It's the same
that
thing.
he doesn't even realize how bad he was.
Right, but I give Gary credit because he played winter ball this year. So something must have clicked in his fucking brain that he needed to do something different.
Yeah.
But again, to going back to what Dallas Braden was saying, the space in between his ears, you can't be that like you didn't know. Even
Right.
and Gary's point was like, "Oh, nobody said anything to me." Does it need to be said though?
No. And look, I think it comes back to how the Yankees view him. If he's a guy that you truly had all the confidence in the world in, and you thought this would maybe just be a temporary thing, and you didn't have any backup down the line, down the road here, maybe you would have treated it differently. Maybe you would have treated him with a little more respect and saying, look, Gar, we love you, but right now what's best for the team is you sitting on the bench. I didn't want it to hit you out of nowhere, but we're playing Higgy this series and blah, blah, blah. But instead, they just kind of did it. And to me, that shows an organization that doesn't really take Gary Sanchez seriously right now.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just add to Christian what you're saying about how maybe these three catchers being here, it's a direct kind of shot at Gary Sanchez, but that really, it doesn't matter whether or not it was direct or indirect. That this is a statement being made by the New York Yankees that they're bringing three catchers up, and whether it's to fuel Gary Sanchez or it's just to see what they have, that doesn't matter, because Gary Sanchez, you have to imagine he's looking at that saying, all right, those are three guys that could replace me. I'm not going to let that happen.
And it's up to Gary to say to himself, do I want to not let these guys come up and be the future of the New York Yankees because I'm going to stop that from happening? I'm going to be the best. Or do I want to sit back, be resentful, not blame myself for not performing enough, and then eventually just being shipped off? And statements like, I don't know why I was benched, make me think the latter is going to happen. And I don't know where his future is going to be, even maybe midway through this season, if Gary Sanchez is even thought of as a starting catcher anymore. Who knows?
I did like that Boone, at least at this point, has said that he's not marrying Higashioka and Cole together.
Me too.
That's good.
And don't get it twisted. I love Gary Sanchez. I think the dude could be friggin' phenomenal. The potential is there. The talent is there. No one's questioning that anymore.
This is the end of the line for him.
This is it, though. Like, this is it.
But come on, dude. Even your kids knew why he was benched.
Seriously.
His daughter walked
mean-
up to him and told him that he fucking
Yeah.
sucks.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Daddy,
don't know
you
who,
suck.
Put it- she
I
put
don't
a
know who
Higgy
that little
jersey
girl was. I don't know why she said that to me.
Yeah.
All right, 2 quick things, and we'll wrap up the show here. Do you guys want the story about Jameson Tyone's pants?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you talking
Alright.
about panting like a dog?
No, pants. You know, like what you wear on your fucking legs?
Okay, because you texted and you said Tyon's pant, period. So I thought you meant he pants when he pitches, and like this is an issue.
I texted at least twice, so you should have had some sort of clarification on it. You want to talk about people that don't have the fucking mental capacity to understand things.
Okay, you want to understand something? You have 1 kid, right? Not the easiest thing in the world.
Right.
Multiply her by 3.
I got 3. I
Okay.
got 3 kids.
And
I got
that's what
3
I deal with.
kids. Oh, no. I got 3 kids.
Oh,
Yeah. So sorry, I don't have time to decipher if you meant pant or pants.
I got 3 kids.
Fuck you. All right, so tell me about his pants.
I got 3 kids.
Shut the- oh, I know exactly what you're gonna say. Actually,
Oh yeah.
I did see this video.
All right, so I didn't hear it live on the radio, but I saw a video earlier today of Craig Carton, who declared that he's going to do a team reveal, who's going to be his favorite baseball team the day before the season starts. So he said that if he reveals that he's a Yankee fan, his favorite player is going to be Jameson Taillon. And the reason why is I didn't see this quote anywhere. I'll take Carton's word for it at face value. I don't know why he would make it up, but he said that Jameson Taillon said that when he sat at his locker and he saw himself wearing Yankee pinstripes, he thought it was the coolest thing in the world and had to take a picture of his pants, of him wearing Yankee pinstripes. And that's a fucking guy that gets it. That's a
Fuck
guy
yeah.
that gets it.
I didn't know that
Love
that's
that.
what you were talking about.
Yeah.
I didn't know this story. That's
So what
awesome.
were- so what were
That's
you
a
gonna
fucking
say?
guy who gets it. I agree.
So what were you talking
I
I thought he
saw-
was going to be like,
No. I watched a video of Tyon throwing pitches. I think it was. Oh no, it wasn't even Tyon.
He was
Never
he
long
mind.
was
tossing.
throwing though with Davey. Yeah.
It was Schmidt,
No, look,
and he
no,
had
it was
the
Se- I saw
leggings.
today he
had,
was
like,
long
the-
tossing with Sessa today.
Mm.
It was a couple days ago, I
That's
think.
fucking awesome, dude. That's a guy who I want on this team.
Or maybe
No,
it was Davey throwing with Clark Schmidt.
I don't know. I didn't see. I don't
Someone
see
was throwing
everything.
with Davey. Oh,
But
you know?
I saw him long tossing with Sessa today. And when I heard Carton say that, I'm like, that's a fucking guy that gets it. Like
That's a Yankee.
he wants to. He knows. Like I'm a fucking Yankee. Look how cool this is.
Didn't Zach Britton do the same thing when he had the pinstripes
He
in
might
his
have.
locker? He
Yeah, he
took a
might have said
picture
that.
and he sent it out.
Yeah, there was a story like that. Or maybe with Cole when he put it on for the first time.
And Carton said these guys are professional athletes. This guy's made millions of dollars in his career. He's going to make $1 million in his career, and he's still in awe of being a fucking Yankee. This is a guy that gets it. This is why now you back up what we talked about last week with what Garrett Cole had to say about this
Exactly.
guy, and now this guy's getting a chub, giving me a fucking chub.
Chubs on chubs.
Chubs on chubs, and him wearing fucking his
Chubs on chubs while he pants.
right.
That's it.
That was a fucking. That's it. I hope that story's true. I
It's
really do.
true.
Yeah.
You know why? Positive thoughts.
Positive thoughts. That's right. So unfortunately, we had to bring the negativity into the show at the beginning. I hope that we don't. I hope the next time we bring up Domingo German's name on this show is that we get to pass on the note that he's no longer a fucking Yankee,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
then we can bar his name from the show along with that other fucking jerk off in Minnesota.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll wrap up the show hopefully with a little bit of positivity. Quick around the room. Now that it appears that the off season is done and completed in terms of moves, I'm assuming that it'll be a couple minor little things here and there, like getting rid of Mike Tauchman, bringing in an extra body here or there. But the heavy lifting is done. Guardy's here. I think the Yankees are like $4 or $5 million still under the luxury tax, so there's still a little bit of wiggle room if they want to do something come trade deadline.
Can I just say something before you ask?
I
'Cause
got
you
3
just-
kids.
No, you reminded me about the one last thing I wanted to say about Gardy.
Yeah.
I don't know why, and I know I'm going to get ripped for this. Didn't you feel like some sort of like everything came to fruition when they signed Gardy on Friday? Like you almost felt complete, even though
yeah.
even though
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
not
yeah,
going to be
yeah.
a starter. There was something, not that they needed him, but there was something missing about the feeling of going into 2021
Right, like
without him.
right. It's an excellent point, and I'm glad that you and your 3 kids brought that up. I really do, and am in agreement with it that I was okay if Guardy didn't come back, but now it feels like the team is together.
Full circle. Like it just felt like it came together.
Right, and yes. So when you and your 3 kids discuss that when you go to bed later tonight, you can say that Uncle Christian agreed with that statement.
Uncle Stupid, they call you.
Your daughter refuses to fucking call me that, by the
I
way.
know.
No matter how hard you push that, and that's why she's my favorite.
Yeah.
All right, so quick around the room, give a quick, like, brief 3-4 sentence thought on it. What's your letter grade now that the off-season maneuvering is done? Because we touched on this a few weeks ago, but then other shit has happened since then. What is your final letter grade on the Yankees off-season? We'll start with SGR.
I'll give them a B plus because I can't give them an A because there's too many question marks. But when you look around the league, when you look at the teams that they're going to be competing with, teams like the Cleveland Indians, they have no one left. Houston's biggest threat, Justin Verlander, isn't going to pitch this year. You look at the competition throughout baseball, the American League, and it is the Yankees. They're going to be the favorites to go to the World Series. So and you look at the money some of these guys made. Throughout the offseason that it just wasn't realistic for the Yankees to get. But I'll give them a B plus because the guys they did add, it's not really a big risk, but if they don't pan out, they're going to be in trouble. If Corey Kluber and Tyone, if one of those two can't step up this year, then they're going to be in trouble. So you have to wait it out. I think as far as offseason goes, B plus. We'll see what they do during the season.
I have to put context behind my grade, and I'll do it by saying this. If Hal gave Brian Cashman, if he told him he had no limitations, he can he can try and get whoever's available and spend all the money in the world, then I'd have to give Brian Cashman a C, maybe a C plus. But given the reality of the situation, what he was handcuffed to, and how much he had to spend and how he could do it the most effectively, I have to give the Yankee offseason and Brian Cashman an A, because I think at the end of the day, it's not just about the question marks that are still there. It's about how you are going to fill those question marks to the best of your ability with the limitations given. And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it with other question marks that have the ability to go through the roof in Corey Kluber, in Tyon, in guys like that. And I think Brian Cashman at the end of the day did the best absolute job he could have with what he was given, and I have to give him an A.
All right, I'm gonna give him the same grade that SGR gave him. I'm giving him a B plus. What prevents it from getting an A is that none of the question marks in the rotation have been erased. I just needed one guy.
Who are you giving up for that? You giving up Tyon for that?
What do you mean? Am I giving up?
You giving up the
that?
Tyon deal to get your question mark solved? Are
Maybe
you giving up?
Don't
Are you
sign
giving up
Corey
Corey
Kluber?
Kluber?
Maybe.
Really?
You have 0 question marks answered right now. And I'm not saying, dude, a B plus got me through fucking college. Okay. It got me a diploma. So it's not in to sneeze at here. Although my diploma is not even worth the fucking toilet paper in my bathroom right now.
That's true.
But that's, it's neither here nor there. But I'm saying, dude, this guy did a fucking excellent job this year. You can make the argument all day and night about whether or not the Yankees should have gone over 210. They didn't. We all know that they didn't. Hal didn't want to. That's not the argument here. The argument, the discussion point is, knowing what we know with the limitations that Brian Cashman was faced with, the guy gets a B plus. You needed to give me one starting pitcher to get the A grade. I love the potential of what Kluber and Tyone could be, but they still are question marks that you're putting into the rotation. What bumped this up from maybe a B minus or a B to a B plus is that he traded Adam Ottavino and got Justin Wilson, Darren O'Day, and fucking Brett Gardner. He turned that fucking underbiting motherfucker into 3 good players.
Yeah.
That's a fucking good GM right there.
Yeah. And you know what?
And I use motherfucker a lot on this show, and I don't really use that.
These grades
these
grades are actually tentative, I think, on the season. Like, we can come back here, and if Kluber and Tyon pan out to be what we should expect them to be, man, this dude was through the roof. Like that B plus goes to an A plus. We all go to an A plus at that point. And that's my point, is that you're talking about solidifying one of those question marks and having an answer. The only answer he could have possibly gotten is still a question mark, being that it's going to be a guy who's really not that great. Right. So I'd rather not a guy
Right, but
who's
that
not
was the
that
only
great.
that was the only thing outside of resigning DJ LeMahieu, which I'm going to make a point about that in a second. The only thing I asked of the Yankees to do this offseason was to bring in somebody that didn't have an injury history behind them, and they didn't do that, and that's what's holding them back from an A right now.
If we had more time, we can debate that.
We have debated it, and we can debate it again next week if you want to. But
I would love to.
But that's what's holding them back from an A right now. Was that you have to be fair in saying there's two things we asked the Yankees to do this offseason. One, re-sign DJ LeMahieu, and don't rely on injury fucking riddled starting pitchers like James Paxton, who re-signed with the fucking Seattle Mariners. Also, we can bring that up. He's back in Seattle on a 1-year deal. So
All right. Yeah. Congrats.
yeah.
Shit about that.
So, and again, everybody wants to say Brian Cashman's a bad GM. Traded Adam Ottavino because he knew he was tight on money. Turned it into O'Day, Wilson, Gardy. Boom. That's fucking genius right there. That's why he didn't give a fuck what he got back in return for Ottavino. He just wanted the fucking money so he can go and do that other shit that he did.
Yeah.
And he got two useful pieces in his bullpen, and he got his fourth outfielder that doesn't swing a fucking wet noodle up there at home plate. Okay. And we are guilty of this. We are guilty of this. Sign DJ LeMahieu, give him whatever he wants, give him fucking $30 million a year. He played the fucking game and he won. He played the game with DJ LeMahieu and he won. Because if he doesn't, do we have Corey Kluber? If that extra $10 million that he would have had to give to DJ LeMahieu, Corey Kluber's probably not a Yankee right now, if you really think about it.
He won the fucking World Series of Poker with the fucking.
So he got as close to an A as fucking possible without actually hammering it home. He gets an 89. That's how close to an A it was.
And you're not going to round it up?
He spelled his name wrong at the top of the paper.
Yeah,
he spelled it with a Y instead of an I.
Actually, I'm one of those prick teachers that don't like when girls put the little hearts above the eyes.
You didn't put a heart.
And so what he did was he put the $sign on the S, and I knocked off a point for that. I was like, you cocky son of a bitch. That's off a point right there. Cash, man.
Love it.
All right. So anything else you guys want to say before we wrap up the show here?
That's it, man.
All right. So we want to thank everybody listening to episode 215 of the NYYST podcast. Please go to NYYShop.com. No, is it
NYYSportstalk.com/shop.
Okay, there you go. Go check out the first two Sterling shirts. Code NYYST pod will save you 30% and free shipping.
And don't forget to stick around for the remaining audio of what Gardy sent to Cashman. You will not want to miss it. And head over to YouTube if you want to watch the video we put together in a couple days.
All right, please follow us on Twitter at NYY Sports Talk SGR.
Go Yanks.
Chris, I know you got 3 kids, but so you have to say goodbye.